Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's show on Rooted in Rising. And today I'm blessed to share the stage with my friend Kai Cole Henderson. How are
Thank
you
you,
doing
Anne.
today, Kai?
I am phenomenal. Thank you so much for having me on with you. This is amazing.
I'm super, super excited to have you. And I almost don't even know where to start. So, how do I introduce somebody that's got so many incredible, amazing layers to her? And it just really, really impresses me very much that your entire platform, from what I understand of you, is helping others be the best version of themselves.
Absolutely. I think we're all kind of doing that in our own flavor too. So I'm just pitching in with my own flavor too.
That's such a gift, though. That really is, because when you're able to sit back, and I know that very few people are able to experience this, and this is like the treasure of life to me. When you're able to sit back and watch someone else succeed, especially when they didn't think they could, that is such an amazing gift. And I really see that is like the basis of what it is that you do. And I love that. I love
Thank
that.
you.
So, why don't I give you an opportunity to share with us what it is that you do and what you're looking to do?
Sure, I'll tell you a story.
All right, love stories.
So the story is that, from very young as a child, I loved the manipulation of space. I was like, this is just so cool. Legos, blocks, awesome, right? Because they ultimately dictate, the environment that we live in, and what we live in, is what supports us. So I said, what if I could build environments that support? That led me to go to
Mm.
architecture school. After architecture school, I worked as an architect in the field, and I was like, I want to work with people more. Like, this is awesome, working with drawings and stuff, but where are the people? So
Mm.
I ended up going into PR for a celebrity PR firm, and that's what I do now. And with a twist, right? If we can share our story with more people and have that inspire more people to share their story, it seems like a win-win. So I like win-win environments. That's what I'm building.
Love that. I love that. So if I'm sitting on my couch right now watching you and I'm really intrigued and I'm like, how can she help me with my PR? But I feel like I'm, a small time like mom making brownies and you're dealing with like high level, celebrities. How does that correlate?
It is all the same. And that's the discovery that I was able to make after moving from the agency environment, busy, busy, rush, rush, New York City energy, right? To working with everyone from the individual entrepreneur to the small business owner to the corporate executive and, to the celebrity that we see on TV every day. It's actually all exactly the same.
I love that. I love that. So it feels possible. Like,
Oh, totally. Possible, accessible, all of the things. And that is part of the mission here is to democratize public relations so that we all know that it's actually accessible. What I had noticed while I was in the agency environment is that there were some tools or resources that people just didn't know they didn't know. And I was
mm.
like, okay, that's okay, right? Because we don't have to be gatekeepers. We can choose to open the gates and let people in on the information that perhaps they just didn't know in the moment. And information is power as long as we're using it. So not only am I sharing information, I'm also cheerleading you to take action on it and with it.
I love that. I love that. And I love the inclusion. I think that, speaking for myself, anyways, right? I think inside, I am still a 7-year-old child that just wants to be noticed. And I want to matter. I want to know that at the end of the day, if I raise my hand in class, I'm not going to make a fool of myself, that I'm going to provide something intelligent for others. Right. So I think we walk around with that little kid, right? Because we really are. We're all here for the same reason. We
Yeah.
want to matter and we want to make a difference. So when we decide to shine our light, Walk me through how you would help somebody if they come to you and say, you know what, I'm really scared. I don't know how to do this. I want to shine my light, but I'm afraid. What does that look like?
Mm, got it. The first thing that we would talk about is the difference between fear and anxiety, because they are not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when we talk about fear, and I heard this from one of my mentors, fear is a reaction to actual, real, present danger.
Mm,
If there is actually nothing in front of you that, is causing what we're calling a fear, then it's not fear, it's actually anxiety,
love it.
right? Because that anxiety comes from a perceived, outcome that we don't desire. Right? And that lives in your head. So it's not an alligator that's sitting right in front of you. It's something that is conjured up and imagined in the mind. So if it's not here and it's not like something that's right there, then it's anxiety. And anxiety we can manage a little more easily by reframing what it is that we think is going to happen as a result of us taking that action that we're feeling apprehensive about. And
Mm.
apprehension is literally us stopping ourselves.
Right, right, which makes it feel a little bit more manageable, right? So if I were imagining that I was opening a box labeled anxiety, I might find some smaller boxes in there like limited beliefs and
Mm,
assumptions. And
yeah.
perhaps it just feels a little bit more, doable to unpack these things instead of going, there's no way I can be successful. Look at all the people before me. All I'm doing is making brownies. I think that I love that analogy and thank you for making that so clear. Fear and anxiety, they are completely different. Fear is very helpful, right? If we see a bear, we don't need anxiety. We need to get the hell out, right? That's like extremely good fear, right? Depending on
Yeah.
what kind of bear, you might not want to run. But anyways, that's another topic for another day. Um, yeah, I love that. So that would be your first step then is to talk about fear versus anxiety.
Right. Once we get to the bottom of what the usually it's anxiety, what the anxiety is, and we reframe it, then a lot of actions start to become possible. And that's when we can start to make a strategy. It's impossible to make a strategy when someone has an impossible mindset. But once you open it up and kind of unlock, what's there, and we look around a little bit and we're like, "Oh yeah, there's more room here than I thought there was before." That's when the creation can begin.
Mm. Oh, I love that. I love that. That's a lot to that's actually a lot. I would highly recommend for those listening to hit stop, rewind, and play that again.
Mm,
That's really powerful. Reading about your Rockstar school, right? I would love to talk about that. I think that is such a great opportunity for people to be able to understand
mm.
how these things can help and what they're structured. I'm not going to get into it because I love for you to be able to explain. I've read about it, but I even want to know more about it. So walk me through your Rockstar school. How did it start and what's your vision?
Sure. So PR Rockstar was started as a result of realizing that there was a lot of things that people just didn't know that they didn't know about public relations. And sometimes I even stray away from using the acronym PR because some people don't even know what that stands for.
Right.
So I can't assume, that people are educated in a particular arena where they've never had experience, right? Maybe we
Mm,
just know it as blowing up our business or getting ourselves more out there, right? So there's a language that we get to use to be able to start to talk about what visibility and public relations can look like for a person. So we
mhm,
just start where we are and we talk about, what is it that you're actually playing this game of PR for? Right? It could be, and this is where we you talk about the many things that come up when we start to access that realm of fear and anxiety. And you were talking about your 7-year old, right?
mm,
Sometimes we start our business with an end game of what our 7-year old wanted.
mm,
Back when she first started desiring, to be an architect or, to be a coach or to be an author, Maybe she's doing it because she wants mom's approval.
Mm,
Maybe she's doing it because she wants more attention and felt lonely. Maybe she's doing it because she never got that packet of markers that she wanted, when you went to the store, 2 months before her 7th birthday, and she's still trying to get that creative outlet that she felt that she left in the store. Like,
mm.
these are the things that we're uncovering. Why are you doing what you're doing?
Love
What is
that.
success? What does that actually look like in real time? And what's the why behind it? So
Yeah.
once we uncover that, and maybe sometimes we need to recalibrate it. Maybe it actually, this business was, created for someone else's approval or for more attention. Then we get to make a conscious decision as an adult, right where we are, where we stand in our journey, and say, well, do we still want that? And
Mm,
it's okay if it's a yes. It is absolutely okay if it's a yes. Yeah, there's a part of me that goes to my mom when an article is published and it's like, "Hey mom, did you see the magazine cover that I got last month?" There is a part of that. And there are other metrics and, I don't want to say goals, I'll say intentions that are
mm-hmm.
around it that create the complete picture of what success looks like for me personally. And during the PR Rockstar journey, we get to create what that is for you, with truth, with honesty, and with compassion. And then the rest of the journey is just reverse engineering that. I say just, and that just is, the hyphen between here and where it is that you want to go, but it also includes, the inclusion of all of the things that maybe you didn't know were out there. Like that there are reporters who are looking to cover, people in different industries every single day, and they have tight deadlines, and they actually need you, right?
Mm.
So there's that, and there's a whole myriad of other things that you can be introduced to based on what it is that you want to accomplish. All it really starts with is just like what you were saying before, Anne, is getting present.
Right, right, exactly. It's almost like, posing the question, who are you afraid to be? Is almost as important as who do you want to be? Because I think that that can
Mm,
dig into a different corner sometimes, because we have that image, and then we have that what somebody else has perhaps painted for us as an image of who we are to become. And sometimes there's a disconnect, and it sounds to me like you're spending a significant amount of time just really working on the foundation, whereas PR comes to mind, and I'm thinking Facebook ads and billboards and TV commercials. It sounds like there's a lot more rooted first.
yeah, I mean, there's a procession, right? And you want to create a good foundation for what it is that you're going to build on. You build on a shaky foundation, you get shaky results, but you build on a firm foundation and you get a legacy. And that's
Mm,
really what people want.
yeah, right, right, right. I was learning about you that your superpower, and one of them, I'm sure you've got many, 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 fusing strategy with soul.
Hey.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because that just sounds like, I mean, I want to put that on a bumper sticker and put it on the back of my car, right? I just love that. So talk to me a little bit about that. That's a pretty awesome superpower.
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all come here with purpose, right? It's embedded in us. It's in our cells. It's apparent in everything that we do, the way that we interact with people, the way that we wake up in the morning, the way that we pronounce our names. Like, it is part of us. And there's only one other thing that is a part of us, as much as our the way that we think about ourselves,
Mm.
right? And it's kind of on the other side of that coin. So there's the way that we think about ourselves, and then there's who we really are. And
Mm.
sometimes people call that soul, right? That's one way to perceive that word. And another way is to use it synonymously with purpose, and that's in the doing phase. So the who we really are is the being, and the what it is that we're here to do is the doing,
Right.
right? And you put those together and you get what you have, right? And that's typically what people call success or achievement sometimes. Sometimes it's
Mm,
a combination of all three, be, do, and have. And what we're doing, when we talk about strategy, is we're pairing that with who it is that we be, what it is that we do, and ultimately what it is that we would like to have. If we're not pairing the two of those things, then we're kind of doing some of these things called shouting into the void and hoping for results, or we're doing something called, working towards someone else's dreams, or we're
mm,
doing something called we don't know what we're doing and we need to figure it out, or I'm figuring it out along the way. None of those are wrong, by the way. They're
yeah.
just not aligned strategy and soul in that case. We get to take a look, and make some conscious decisions so that they are. So to me, it just makes sense,
Mm.
to pair the two. And after you do some things, a certain number of times, I guess you get a little practice and you get good at it.
Yeah. Right, right. And that's key too, right? I think for so many people that these are not opportunities that were ever brought to light.
Mm,
Right. So generationally, and I mean, things have changed so much from when my parents versus your parents, even. It's just
yeah.
so different. And now what's happening in the world for current parents is going to be vastly different from those in the future. So, what is it that we're bringing to the table is often just this mistaken identity. It's not
Mm,
even lack of, it's like, who are we really? And the fear of not only getting lost in the shuffle, but it's like the mosh pit mentality. Like, I cannot fall or I will be crushed. So we're on this vicious treadmill that is just going and going and going. And if we pause for a second, we're going to fall and we're going to get crushed. But we have no idea where we're headed. That's the feeling of energy that I get to a large degree in our current world, and not just in my space, but overall. I travel a lot and you feel people and you feel the disconnect that's going on right now. So if somebody, this is very foreign conversation to many, many, many people. They don't really know how to even start to connect who they are with themselves. You know what I mean? How would you even approach that with somebody? How would you even start to have that conversation?
got it. Got it. Well, first, I want to say, Anne, that the caliber of the questions that you are asking today are just fantastic. And I appreciate you and the depth at which we get to look at these things.
Mm,
Because, like you said, it doesn't happen in an everyday conversation. We're
right,
not going to stumble on these topics just by happenstance, right?
right, 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 right. Yeah, and they're important.
They absolutely are in so many ways. So when we get to create who it is that we are as a human being and relating to people in the world, there's a part of that that is conscious and there's a part of that that's subconscious, right? There's a part of that that we're aware of, in other words, and there's a part of that that is a part of our conditioning, who it is that we have been, from the time that we were born and, in our family unit and have had all of these experiences through school, maybe university and a job, right? That we still relate to right now. And there's also a possibility that maybe you don't relate to that at
Mm,
all, right?
mm,
Maybe you've adopted a new mindset and gotten yourself a new circle of friends or,
mm,
colleagues, and maybe you have different beliefs. Maybe you have different goals or outcomes that you would like to experience in your life, right?
right.
So, like you said, it's just a matter of, oh, yeah, I didn't know that there is this space on the side of the treadmill that I can put
Yeah.
my feet, so that way I can take a breather without stopping the machine or getting off entirely. It's
Yeah.
just exposing the space that's already there for us to make some choices and decisions about how it is that we want to move forward. So, a lot of it is awareness. A
Mm,
lot of it is awareness and conversation with ourselves a lot of times as well.
yeah. Yeah. Wow. Metaphorically, that felt like a relief when you said
Mm,
that. Step to the side of the treadmill. We know we're just using an analogy, but it felt possible.
mm,
I actually felt for a moment, had I been in that space, and I was in that space. That was me, mosh pit and treadmill wall for a very long
very long.
time. But it feels really good to be able to explain to somebody that if you're starting to feel that happening, that there is a way to step to the side and spend some time diving into you. And for me, my favorite way to do that is pen and paper. I
Mm,
don't think there's any other great rooted source that costs you little to no money to do than to just get it out, and I really love that you said that because I think that we can feel so easily a product of being, I mean, a product of doing
mm,
and not being, and I think that right now, really being able to take a breath and feel okay to do that,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and there's a whole other discussion, just like what you're saying, that people just don't know that the space is there. A lot of times we do take the moment to pause, and what comes after that could look like guilt for taking
Mm,
that moment. What
yeah.
could come after that could look like a whole myriad of things. It's a continual conditioning or continual reminding ourselves that this is okay. What I'm
Right.
experiencing is actually okay, and it's what's happening right now.
Mm. Yeah, I'm really glad you said that because that's so true. That is so true. And that really is a whole other conversation that I think that so many, once again, would wrestle with. You're just so afraid to get off that conveyor belt, not knowing if you'd be able to get back on, even if it's the wrong belt to be on,
Ooh,
you know?
that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. That's painful. That's really painful doing the things. And it's really, and I sit there, I get up in the morning and I just go, what is it that I can do differently today that might help another find either their voice or their freedom? What is
Mm,
it? And I think that's just really the striving force for me is to, how can we bring that? How can we deliver that? You know,
yeah,
awesome stuff. Really awesome
yeah.
stuff. So
Thank
if
you.
somebody, yeah, no, thank you. If somebody wanted to work with you, what would that look like?
It would look like first taking a look and really having an understanding of if they're willing to do the work.
Mm,
And that can exist on a lot of different planes. Maybe it's just mental work, of, okay, am I willing to assess what it is that I've done so far and take an inventory, of where it is that I am and actually sit and make some decisions about where it is that I want to go. And that's what it looks like
mm,
mentally. What it could look like physically is, am I willing to expand my team so that I can actually take action on the things that it takes, for me to increase my visibility? Sometimes a question that I ask is, and I use this show as an example, even though I don't even think that it's on the air anymore. But I'll ask a person, hey, if you were on Oprah tomorrow, you know what what would have to change in your business so that you could have the capacity to receive the kind of attention that you would want to receive? And this is
ooh,
assuming if that's what they want, right?
wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big question. So, in other words, like Oprah's favorite things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is your business in position to receive?
Yeah. If your
Wow.
book landed on that list tomorrow, do you have the capacity to capture leads? Do you have the
Mm,
capacity to service them and deliver on a promise, that you make these people who are, now in your environment? These are things that we really need to consider before doing the work to be ready to be on such a platform.
phenomenal. Phenomenal. I love that. I really, really love that. That is way more than leveling up. That is way more. Wow, I really enjoy that question a lot. I think that really what that does is it the feeling of hope and dream just busted out,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, because it's comfortable to play small.
Yeah. Or maybe
Wow.
it's uncomfortable, and we're getting comfortable with being in this little small box, because it's all that we know.
Mm.
There's a phrase that one of my mentors told me earlier on, and she said, "People cannot achieve to a level at which they have not been exposed."
Mhm.
And I kind of reverse engineered that for myself, and I was like, "Okay, I got that, right?" And I had a whole lot of experiences with that mentor that, that took me to places that I would have never ever been. For that I am super grateful. And I said,
Mm.
"How do I really own this statement?" And the way that I owned it was that I flipped it around a little. I said, "Oh, that means that we can achieve at a level to which we have been exposed." So for me in my life, I'm like, okay, I see that person. Got it. That means I'm getting this right now. I'm capable of that too.
Mm.
Right?
Nice.
So if we see someone who has had their book on Oprah's favorites, right? And
Right.
who has capitalized off of it, in a way that is in alignment and integrity and of service to the people that they are, to the communities and the people that they're looking to serve,
Mm.
you can do it too, for sure. Right?
Right. Right.
Absolutely. So part of my mission is to be that example.
That's fantastic. What a great mission. What an awesome mission. Awesome. You know, and I noticed another one of your missions, Miss Cover of what is it, Speakers Magazine?
Yes.
I'm like, look at you go. What an amazing accomplishment.
Thank you.
That is fantastic. That's great. I only hope that I get the opportunity to be in your audience when you're speaking.
I
I really
think it's
do.
starting here, and we get to be in each other's presence, and this is what's possible for all of us.
100%. The energy is really, yeah, I really just enjoy that so much. How many different people can bring different beautiful things to the stage? And that's encompassing everyone. You
Yeah,
know, even the mom sitting at home that's making brownies and wants to make a business out of it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? There's something beautiful inside just waiting to get out and popped up on that stage.
absolutely.
That is so
Absolutely.
cool. I am like so appreciative of the time. I could spend hours talking to you. I want to keep our audience's attention.
Yeah,
So, what are some of the ways, and I'm going to include all of your links and all of your information in this show, but what are some of the ways that you would be able to like help somebody like right away, right out of the gate?
cool. Well, let's start with the free stuff, right? Because
Okay.
that's probably where we want to begin, right?
Right.
Uh, YouTube is an amazing way to get a lot of gold nuggets, without having to invest in additional money, right? Just go
Mm,
in and watch, right? This is a place where some people call it YouTube University. My
hmm.
mentor used to go to what she called Barnes and Noble University. She would sit and read the books, right? We've got some more technology these days. We've got
Right.
YouTube University. Make the most of it. And if you do watch a video, just take action on it.
Mm,
Don't worry about the likes or subscribing. I'm sure you'll do that if it, appeals to you, but just take action on the things that you're hearing, whether it's from me, whether it's from somebody else, or whether it's from the content that it inspires you to make.
yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That is
Yeah.
so awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. And so that's a
Yeah.
great place to start. And there's tons of links as you will share, and that if you're interested in taking the next step, you can.
Awesome. Thank you so much for giving of yourself today. Really appreciate that. I so hope we do this again.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And thank you. And for asking the questions, I can really give people value so that way they can better themselves and learn from what it is that we're talking about, and then go ahead and take that action for themselves. Like, these questions were phenomenal.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for being fully present with us. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.
All right.